can. Order. I will call Andy McNay to move the motion, and I will then call the Minister to respond. There will not be an opportunity for the member in charge to wind up, as is the convention in 30-minute debates. But I call Andy McNay to move the motion.
It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. And I'm grateful for the Minister's attendance today and for all the work that she and the Government are doing to champion community sports facilities. I and many colleagues believe that easily accessible sports facilities have a huge untapped potential to contribute not just to the vibrancy of communities, but to the very missions this Government has set out to achieve. But to deliver on this, we need to align funding and partnerships to need, opportunity and impact. As a non-statutory service, local leisure provision has been disproportionately hit by years of austerity. This is especially true in the case of smaller local authorities, which lack the capacity and resilience to mitigate these cuts. And the impact of this is particularly felt in our small towns, where hollowed-out local services amplify the feeling of being left behind. Young people in these small towns rightly say there is nothing here for us to do, and look with envy towards distant big towns and cities and ask why do they always seem to get the money. In this debate, I'll argue that we must have an approach to sports and leisure that properly values the benefits of active lives while addressing the increasing inequality of provision and being agile enough to respond to opportunity when it comes. I'll start by considering the wide-ranging benefits and impacts in support of our missions. Firstly, well-tailored sports programmes centred around local facilities can help drive economic growth and unlock opportunity. We know that sport builds confidence and resilience in young people, equipping them for work and helping them break down the barriers to opportunity. If we want to see the next generation thrive, they need the confidence to seize the opportunities before them. Regular sports and physical activity provides an excellent way of embedding this confidence while growing teamwork and leadership skills. The Youth Sport Trust have provided strong evidence for this, demonstrating that sport is a key predictor of children's self-confidence and resilience, with girls receiving an even greater positive impact from sports than boys. They find the economic value of providing physical activity in primary schools alone is worth at least £4 billion under the Treasury's well-buy measures. But economic benefits of physical activity through improving health, wellbeing and resilience is doubled for children who are either disabled or receiving free school meals. In addition to this, school can provide strong and unique incentives for people to continue coming to school. Consider Rugby Works, which supports young people excluded from mainstream education. Their term time programme offers participation in Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4, a year-long intervention underpinned by the 4 pillars of their theory of change, including developing life skills, raising aspirations, improving physical well-being and a focus on mental well-being. I would love to.
Can I commend him on bringing this forward? He's absolutely right to set the scene very clearly for community sport facilities. One of the things that comes to my mind, Mr Jeremy, is the issue of obesity, which seems to be rising in the United Kingdom. And does he feel that perhaps access to sporting facilities would reduce the obesity, number one, but they actually have rural bus connections to the community centres as also part of that? If you can't get there, it's just not going to do any much good to really anybody if there's no access.
I thank you for that, and it is a hugely important point. That connectivity, that accessibility of local facilities is absolutely vital. And this is the point I'm making about small towns who feel cut off, not just not having the facilities themselves, but also unable to get to facilities in the towns nearby. So it's a crucial part of the mix, and of course, young people particularly reliant on bus services to get to these sort of opportunities. And where was I? so I was talking about the Rugby Works programme. It can be delivered as a preventative programme in mainstream setting or with children in alternative provision who have been excluded otherwise from school. 89% of programme graduates progressed into sustained education, employment or training. For young people in alternative provision, the national average is just 62%, so showing massive impacts. Overall, sport can help engage young people in education and motivate them to gain the confidence and skills they will need in a growing economy. And for those who have fallen out of work, sport can be a route back. We have nearly 1 million 16 to 24-year-olds out of work, a record number, and that's nearly 1 of 7 young people. Poor mental health is by far the most commonly cited reason for this. For each individual, it's a tragedy. Being in work or training with the potential to learn and progress is crucial to getting a good start in life. And of course, on a societal level, this undermines our economic growth and puts huge pressure on our finances. The cost of poor mental health alone is estimated at £56 billion per year, with the total economic cost of economically active 18 to 65-year-olds coming in close to £300 billion a year. If we get a grip on this, we can really start to turn things around. And sport can play a vital role in starting individuals on this route back to work. There are many examples of how this works well, and one is close to my home in Rosendale. Rosendale works as a partnership between Active Lancashire, Rosendale Borough Council and the DWP through a local job centre. The project works with individuals suffering from entrenched worklessness and low self-esteem to understand what may be preventing a return to work. It develops a tailored work plan to address these barriers. It includes a focus on sport and physical activities to boost confidence, health and well-being, and it's delivered through council-leisure facilities and it's proved very effective at inspiring participants, getting them off the street and work ready, as well as reducing demand on local health services. Importantly, it's also a process of job matching and closer relationships with local employers with skills needs. The idea is that there's at very least a guaranteed interview at the end of the process, and support is maintained through interview and the work placement. Since the project kicked off in 2018, it's supported hundreds of Rosendale residents and it's proved really effective at getting them into employment. For instance, in 22-23, 203 people with multiple issues were supported, with 68 getting into employment as a result. But despite this, it's remained under constant funding pressure. Over the past few years, funding has predominantly via a shared prosperity fund on a year-by-year basis. The current programme comes to an end this month, with the council seeking a one-year extension. This sort of continual uncertainty undermines the benefits that a fully secure programme could deliver. And once again, we see a disconnect between funding structures and programme benefits, with small councils like Rosendale least able to bridge any gaps. And now moving on to our health mission. Accessible and engaged sports facilities play a crucial role in the health of our communities, preventing and mitigating illness, and in doing so, easing the pressure on our NHS. As Kim Leadbeater's Healthy Britain report highlights, obesity alone is estimated to cost the UK economy at least 58 billion a year. And the British Heart Foundation estimates the annual cost to the economy of cardiovascular disease is 19 billion. The NHS spends more than 10 billion a year, or 10% of its budget, on diabetes. Sport has a massive potential to address these and other conditions. Even with our current provision, Sport England found over 600 cases of type 2 diabetes, 150,000 cases of heart disease, and 1.3 million cases of depression were prevented through sport in 23-24. As it stands, they estimate that sport activities provide at least 10 billion of savings to the NHS. Looking specifically at mental health, overall there's a 20-30% lower risk of mental illness for those taking part in daily physical activity. In 2019, a CMS committee report, Changing Lives, notes that Living Streets reported 80% of participants on their programme for older people feel less stressed or anxious, and 76% felt fitter or healthier as a result. Whilst Park Run told us 95% of people doing free time runs in their local park said they felt both healthier and happier, and 97% felt more positive as a result. Crawley Town Community Foundation used football and coaching and other activities to support people experiencing or at risk of experiencing mental health problems, with 78% of participants strongly agreeing that the project had given them a positive activity to focus on. Similarly, Sport in Mind, a charity that works specifically to support people with mental health issues with regular sport interventions, has found that after 6 months, 94% of attendees have improved mental well-being, with 91% reporting higher self-esteem and 82% showing reduced symptoms of depression. Sport really does work. Overall, for every £1 we invest in sport, we get £4 in return in social and health benefits. This incredible effect led the Chief Medical Officer in 2019 to note that if exercise was a drug, we would refer to it as a miracle cure. With better equipped, more accessible sports facilities and an increase in social prescribing, we have the opportunity to significantly improve the physical and mental health of this nation, boosting our economy and helping the NHS. But for this to be a true game changer, we must do it at scale and with real ambition. And locally led and well-targeted sports-based interventions can also make our streets safer. The College of Policing has investigated the effect of sport-based intervention programmes. They're often aimed at young people in deprived communities at risk of falling into crime, but can also be targeted to support those in or leaving prison. The combined effect of strong communities, good role models, challenging physical activity and healthy competition has been shown to be effective at lowering crime rates. Specifically, on average, sport programmes result in an increase in psychological well-being of 31% for the cohort and a lower reconviction rate of 14%. A great example... Of course.
Thank you. Would my honourable friend agree that community asset transfers offer a real opportunity for grassroots clubs like mine in Warrington South, allowing to enhance community facilities whilst also giving local people a stake in how their clubs are run, putting people over profit and retaining an identity rooted in their communities?
I would absolutely agree. And of course, communities know best. Communities know what works, local people know what works. And empowering them to get involved in the local sports facilities is a hugely beneficial approach. I was highlighting the Sunderland Community Action Programme, the Night Riders Initiative. This initiative specifically targets people in ASB hotspots, be it attached youth workers. In the evenings, kids are taken from hotspot areas to cycling hubs, where they take part in a fun group cycling activity. They're given bikes and helmets covered in LED lights. It's taking people away from hotspots, putting them in a controlled, safe environment with good mentors to work with them. So we know that sport-based interventions are an excellent way of tackling the causes of crime and antisocial behaviour. And by introducing young people to new experiences and new peer groups, the impact is long-lasting. But again, to make a real difference, we must take the best practice and mainstream it and do it at scale. Finally, investment in modern, well-maintained sports facilities and encouraging people to go cycling and walking can help meet our net zero targets. Older, poorly maintained sports facilities can be difficult to heat and run. This is a huge issue, with 63% of sports halls and swimming pools over 10 years old, and nearly a quarter have not been refurbished in over 20 years. In fact, the LGA have found that leisure facilities produce between 10 to 40% of district and unitary councils' direct carbon emissions. With this, inevitably becomes high running costs. Investing in modern, well-maintained facilities, ideally with renewable generation, is a route to environmental and financial sustainability. And walking or cycling to work or school rather than driving delivers multiple benefits, with a key one, of course, being reduced emissions and better air quality. Indeed, a University of Oxford study found that for those who switch to just one trip per day from car to cycling, reduce their carbon footprint by half a tonne over a year. Yet, in spite of this great potential to support delivery of such a wide range of benefits, after 14 years of Conservative cuts and the impact of COVID, community sports facilities have struggled to survive. Many have been forced to close and many remain at risk. And it's been particularly difficult for small councils to maintain leisure facilities without the reserve spending powers or bid capacity of larger councils. Despite the best efforts of officers, it's incredibly difficult to maintain facilities, let alone open new ones. My constituency of Rosendale is a good example of this. We have 4 small towns with populations ranging from 15 to 25,000. The Borough Council budget is less than £9 million a year. For the past 15 years, there's been some pretty heroic work from council officers, councillors and volunteers to try and keep our leisure facilities open. But despite this, we're now in a situation where 2 of our 4 towns have no significant public sector leisure provision. And despite a clear forward plan to deliver the facilities we need, along with innovative and high-impact projects, at present the Council, with dwindling reserves and a myriad of cost pressures, has no realistic way of funding this, or indeed of match funding any potential capital grants, and so we fall ever further behind. Yet the irony of this is that these are the exact small-town communities, often with serious patches of deprivation and lacking opportunity, that are most in need of the benefits that local sports and leisure facilities can offer. I'm pleased by this Government's commitment of £123 million for funding to grassroots facilities in the current year, and I'm sure that we'll see equally significant commitments in the future. But I would ask the Minister how we can ensure that we do not leave behind small towns and struggling councils, that we make sure we focus support where it's needed and not just where the voices are loudest or the match funding pockets are deepest. This need to ensure funding is structured to recognise particular challenges and opportunities in small towns is one part of the equation. Responding to opportunity and maximising impact is another. Our country is full of innovative people and local organisations keen to get together and make a difference. Our funding structures should embrace this and not put up barriers by pretending central government knows best. I've already given an example of Rosendale Works, where a locally designed programme has been helping long-term unemployed into work for 7 years now, and yet it's been reduced in ambition and remains reliant on short-term funding. Let me now give you an equally exciting example we have in Darwin. We have a top-class BMX and skate park facility called Junction 4 Skate Park. Next to it, we have Darwin Vale Secondary School, which is run by the Aldridge Academy Trust. Drawing from their experience of delivering the Aldridge Cricket Academy in Brighton, which has delivered excellent academic and sporting outcomes, the Trust have come up with an innovative proposal for Britain's first BMX and skateboard academy. This approach should give students a chance to develop sporting talent and academic qualifications together, rather than having to choose between the two. More broadly, it's a chance to target pupils who have not engaged well with education and who are at risk, and gives them a powerful reason for getting positively involved in school life. At the same time, the skate parks have been developing innovative proposals to add media and creative elements to their offer. So as well as just learning to ride, young people can learn about filming, content development, photography, event organisation and so on. All the skills that could lead to excellent careers. The Academy Trust and Skate Park are currently working on a business plan to pilot this approach. The only funding gap is likely to be revenue to cover the sports coaching elements, and yet as things stand, there's no obvious way to addressing this. So I'd ask the Minister to consider how we can support such innovative approaches, responding to opportunity where it comes and mainstreaming what works. And I would very much invite her to come and visit this facility and see what they can do. So in conclusion, the evidence for how sport can positively impact our missions seems crystal clear. Indeed, Chris Boardman would say we're drowning in evidence, and we have plenty of examples of how to deliver on this potential with local authorities, sporting and community organisations with initiatives ready to go. And yet, under the previous government, interventions were piecemeal, short-term and small scale, usually subject to competitive bidding and the need to fit with predetermined outcomes. At the same time, community leisure facilities were closing at an unprecedented rate. This has led to pockets of good practice constantly under threat of funding running out and with very limited impact nationally. This then leads to a key question. When we have an approach like this, it is clearly capable of delivering an excellent return on investment and positive impact supporting objectives of multiple departments, for instance DWP, Health, Education, Home Office as well as DCMS. How do we properly value these benefits and so mainstream these programmes at a scale with an appropriate level of support to deliver nationwide impact? And how do we ensure our small towns and left behind places equally benefit from any such approach? And I welcome the Minister's thoughts on this. And so to definitely finish, the Honourable Member for Spen Valley has a saying, whatever the problem, sport can be the solution. We know the benefits and power of sport and physical activity, and it's also an unarguable value in terms of return on investment. Yet the last government let our community facilities wither, leaving young people in small towns like mine with nothing to do and nowhere to go. With our focus on prevention and commitment to left-behind communities, I hope and believe our new government will grasp this opportunity and empower our local authorities, sports clubs and volunteer organisations to put sport back at the heart of our communities. Thank you.
I'm grateful to the Honourable Member for opening the debate. So the question is that this House has considered community sport facilities. And I call the Minister, Stephanie Peacock.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship so speedily, Sir Jeremy, once again. And I'd like to begin by congratulating my honourable friend, the member for Rosendale and Darwen, on securing this important debate. I know he has a great interest and passion for this subject, having already met him and discussed it. And I'm going to touch a little bit on some of his work later in my remarks. Grassroots sports clubs are at the heart of communities up and down the country. They are places where millions of people play sport and get active every week. Families share lifelong memories, barriers are broken down and friendships are made. High quality, inclusive facilities are central to this, and this government is committed to ensuring that every community across the country has access to outstanding community sports facilities. The benefits of being physically active and participating in sport are well known, and we know that even relatively small increases in physical activity can contribute to improved health and quality of life, and that is good for both our physical and mental health. More than that, we know that community sport can play a major role in building confidence, teamwork, supporting life skills for future generations and improving community cohesion. As things stand, not enough people are active or participating in sport, and this government is committed to getting more people active, regardless of their background, maximising the power which sport has to empower diverse local communities. It was great to attend the FA's Made for This Game event in Parliament last week as part of their campaign to empower girls in schools across the country to get involved in sport. And I'm also looking forward to supporting the FA's campaign next Friday, closer to home in Barnsley, for their 4th annual biggest ever football session. Great examples of grassroots sport being open and accessible for all. To ensure solid foundations, the government has committed to investment in facilities that support local communities to take part in sport and physical activity, and has committed to a review of the school curriculum that will consider the future of PE and school sport. The government's approach brings in a range of departments and public sector organisation, and sport has a central role to play in delivering on our missions, as the Honourable Member mentioned. The Health Mission and the Opportunity Missions Board are bringing departments together to ensure that action is taken around preventative health and ensuring all children have equal opportunity to support the country to be more physically active, and my department is representing the voice of community sport in these discussions. The public leisure sector plays an important role in the delivery of sport, physical activity and leisure across the country. They do this through vital community assets and infrastructure, from swimming pools to sports halls, alongside pitches and community spaces. They can help create a sense of pride in place and improve community cohesion, whether that be through team sports, gym classes or children's swimming lessons. We know they help and prevent long-term health inequalities, both mental and physical, help combat loneliness, grow the local economy and provide jobs and purpose. Now, my honourable friend, the member for Rosendale and Darwen, knows all of this, and he has made a powerful and passionate case today and in the months previously for the important role that quality and accessible community facilities can play in his constituency today, illustrating his commitment through securing this debate. I know he works closely with his local councils and takes a keen interest in their ambitions to improve the community facilities for his constituents, as evidenced in the recent sport and physical activity strategy published by Rosendale Borough Council. I understand they, like other local authorities, including my own, are facing significant pressures after 14 years, and I very much heard his thoughts about funding and about deprivation. Because while local authorities are responsible for decisions regarding sport and leisure provision in their area, we recognise the challenges faced, especially for smaller councils, as my honourable friend rightly points out. Now, this government is taking immediate action to begin addressing those challenges by ensuring that funding goes to the places that need it most in the latest local government finance settlement. Overall, the provisional settlement ensured that local government will receive a real terms increase in core spending power of around 3.2%, and I'm committed to working to support our leisure sector up and down the country. Now, my department is responsible for the overall approach to sport and leisure provision across the country. We work closely with Sport England, the government's arm's-length body for community sport, to annually invest over £250 million of national lottery and government money into some of the most deprived areas of the country to help them increase their physical activity levels. Sport England has taken a place-based investment approach, working with local authorities and active partnerships to encourage system-wide change, and we've recently announced the plans to extend their work in a further 53 communities across the country to ensure those in greatest need can be active. And I'm sure my honourable friend will agree it's great to see the Rosendale and Darwen constituency is part of Sport England's Pennine Lancashire Place Partnership. That's a mouthful. This work places the community at the heart of decision making, and including those small town communities my honourable friend champions. He gave some really great examples and very kindly invited me to visit, of which I'd be delighted to accept. Now, the benefits of investing in community sport and physical activity were brought to life just last week, with Sport England announcing new figures that evidence how every £1 spent on community sport and physical activity generates over £4 for the English economy and society. The government recognises that high-quality, inclusive facilities help ensure everyone has access to sport. We'll continue to support grassroots sport, including through the multi-sport grassroots facilities programme that has invested £123 million across the UK this financial year, and which leverages significant funding contributions from both the FA and the Premier League. This funding is structured so that areas that need it most are prioritised, taking both local inactivity rates and deprivation into account. Now, funding from the multi-sports grassroots facilities programme continues to be invested in England through Sport England and our delivery partner, the Football Foundation, who plan their investment pipeline based on local football facility plans which have been developed in partnership with local authorities and are in the process of being refreshed to reflect the current landscape. Whilst facilities are no doubt vital for community sport, it is the people who really make the difference, and I wanted to take the opportunity to pay tribute to the thousands of volunteers who give up their time, whatever the weather, to make community sport happen. Volunteers are the lifeblood of sport and physical activity. Every day, night and weekend, people are able to learn, play sport and get active thanks to others giving up their own time to facilitate it. Volunteers are vital to achieving a vibrant and resilient civil society, and sport accounts for over 50% of all volunteering in the UK, and one volunteer creates the capacity for at least 8.5 more people to participate, a fabulous statistic. Now, volunteering connects communities and is an essential means of supporting grassroots sport. As well as providing the capacity for people to take part in sport, volunteering also has a benefit on the health and well-being of volunteers themselves. Now, sport and physical activity is central to preventative health, and the biggest health gain comes from supporting those who are inactive or less active to move more. There is an evidence direct correlation of increased activity levels in the areas of the country with the highest density of accessible facilities that are safe, inclusive and affordable. And I agree with my honourable friend that we must therefore ensure these exist and are accessible as a key lever to getting people active and help tackling health inequalities. Around 23% of people in Rosendale and Darwen are inactive, a figure we want to see come down, and I know it's higher in my own area of Barnsley. Physical activity interventions contribute an immense saving to the NHS, preventing 1,000 cases of diabetes and 93,000 cases of dementia every year. For publicly accessible sport and leisure facilities, we want to look at the potential to support communities on health needs in particular, and we're looking at how co-location between sport and health services could help inactive groups. I recently saw this in action myself in Essex. Their local council leaders are working in partnership with Active Essex, local health service and leisure providers to knit services together. They are building strong links between health and leisure sectors, including co-locating services that people have easy access to a wide range of physical activity opportunities. And this means that with people, for example, long-term health conditions, they can access activities that not only improve their physical health, but they are fun and social as well. And I heard some amazing stories on my visit there. And I've also seen the impact of community facilities in my own constituency of Barnsley South. Your Space, Hoyland, for example, just up the road from my office, which I've visited a number of times, provides swimming, football, badminton and a whole range of services that really support my constituents. Now, there are multiple examples of similar work around the country. Good Gym, for example, is adapting to tackle the increase in isolation and loneliness by offering opportunities to combine physical exercise with volunteering and providing ongoing support to individuals. And as the Minister responsible for tackling loneliness, I'm keen to see what more the government can do in this space. I recently held a round table with a number of organisations working on loneliness and will work to drive further progress in the coming months. Now, my department will continue to look at ways to support such thinking as we look ahead to future policy around community sport and leisure facilities, with their contribution towards genuinely tackling a range of different issues, whether that be inactivity and inequality, health, or of course crime and antisocial behaviour, which the Honourable Member mentioned. Across all of these examples, one thing is clear: having high quality, safe, affordable facilities is vital, but more importantly, it is the people who make these facilities genuinely community hubs, and this government is committed to ensuring that facilities are built with their communities at their heart. So we appreciate the huge contribution publicly accessible sport and leisure facilities is making to health and well-being. I'm hugely passionate about this agenda, and I know being physically active and playing sport is genuinely life-changing. The member for Rosendale and Darwen has made an important contribution today, championing his area, and I very much thank him for that.
I thank the Minister, who's worked a double shift this morning. And the question is that this House has considered community sport facilities. As many are of that opinion say aye, and the contrary no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order. The sitting is suspended until 2:30 this afternoon.